The calm before the storm sun was setting over the quiet village of Willowbrook, casting a golden hue over the rolling hills and dense forests that surrounded it. In a small, cozy barn at the edge of the village, Mama Whiskers, a sleek, gray tabby cat, was busy tending to her newborn kittens. The barn was her sanctuary, a place where she felt safe and secure. The soft hay beneath her paws, the gentle rustling of the wind through the trees, and the distant chirping of birds created a serene atmosphere. Mama Whiskers had given birth to 4 tiny kittens just a week ago. They were her pride and joy, each one unique in its own way. There was Snowflake, the pure white one with piercing blue eyes, Shadow, the black kitten with a mischievous streak, Ginger, the orange tabby with a fiery personality, and finally, Patch, the calico kitten with a patch of black over one eye. Mama Whiskers spent her days nursing them, grooming them, and keeping them warm. But as the days passed, Mama Whiskers began to notice something unusual. The birds that usually chirped happily in the trees had grown silent. The air felt heavier, and there was an eerie stillness that made her fur stand on end. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her, something dangerous. The shadow in the sky in evening, as Mama Whiskers was nursing her kittens, she heard a loud, piercing screech that sent shivers down her spine. She looked up and saw a massive shadow circling high above the barn. It was an eagle, its sharp eyes scanning the ground below for prey. Mama Whiskers' heart raced as she realized the danger her kittens were in. She quickly gathered her kittens and moved them to a hidden corner of the barn, where they would be safe from prying eyes. But the eagle was relentless. It circled lower and lower, its sharp talons glinting in the fading light. Mama Whiskers knew she had to act fast. With a burst of courage, she darted out of the barn, hoping to distract the eagle and lead it away from her kittens. The eagle spotted her immediately and swooped down, its talons outstretched. Mama Whiskers ran as fast as she could, her heart pounding in her chest. She zigzagged through the tall grass, trying to throw the eagle off her trail. But the eagle was too fast. With a swift motion, it grabbed Mama Whiskers in its talons and lifted her into the air. She struggled and clawed at the eagle's legs, but it was no use. The eagle carried her higher and higher, until the barn and the village were just tiny specks below. The perilous journey. Mama Whiskers' heart raced as she was carried further and further away from her kittens. She could feel the cold wind biting at her fur as the eagle soared through the sky. The ground below was a blur of green and brown, and she could see the distant peaks of the mountains looming ahead. The eagle's grip was tight, and Mama Whiskers could feel the sharp talons digging into her sides. She knew she had to stay calm and think of a way to escape. She couldn't let the eagle take her to its nest, where she would surely meet her end. As they flew over a dense forest, Mama Whiskers saw her chance. The eagle was flying lower now, skimming the tops of the trees. She waited for the right moment. Then with all her strength, she twisted her body and clawed at the eagle's legs. The eagle let out a screech of pain and loosened its grip just enough for Mama Whiskers to break free. She tumbled through the air, her heart in her throat, before landing in the thick branches of a tall pine tree. The fall knocked the wind out of her, but she quickly scrambled to her feet and hid among the branches. The eagle circled above, screeching in frustration, but it couldn't reach her in the dense foliage. Mama Whiskers knew she wasn't safe yet. She had to find a way back to her kittens, but she was miles away from the barn, deep in the heart of the forest. The sun was setting, and the forest was growing darker by the minute. She could hear the distant howls of wolves and the wrestling of unseen creatures in the underbrush. The forest of shadows. Mama Whiskers cautiously made her way down the tree, her senses on high alert. The forest was a maze of towering trees, thick underbrush, and hidden dangers. She had to be careful. One wrong move could mean the end. As she ventured deeper into the forest, she encountered all sorts of creatures. There were curious squirrels, timid deer, and even a family of foxes. But Mama Whiskers knew better than to trust anyone. She kept to the shadows, moving silently and swiftly. The night was long and fraught with peril. Mama Whiskers had to navigate through treacherous terrain, avoiding predators and finding food and water along the way. She was exhausted, but the thought of her kittens kept her going. She couldn't give up. She had to get back to them. At one point, she came across a rushing river. The water was cold and swift, and the current was strong. Mama Whiskers knew she had to cross it if she wanted to continue her journey. She took a deep breath and plunged into the water, fighting against the current with all her might. The water was freezing, and her muscles ached. But she pushed through, determined to reach the other side. When she finally made it to the other bank, she collapsed on the ground, shivering and exhausted. But she couldn't rest for long. The forest was still full of dangers, and she had to keep moving. The mountain's edge. After days of traveling through the forest, Mama Whiskers finally reached the base of the mountain. The eagle's nest was somewhere high above, and she knew she had to climb the steep, rocky terrain to reach it. It was a daunting task, but she had no other choice. The climb was grueling. The rocks were sharp and slippery, and the wind was fierce. Mama Whiskers' paws were sore and bleeding, but she pressed on, driven by the thought of her kittens waiting for her back at the barn. As she climbed higher, the air grew thinner, and the temperature dropped. She could see the eagle's nest perched on a narrow ledge, just out of reach. Mama Whiskers knew she had to be careful. One wrong move could send her tumbling down the mountain. She carefully made her way to the ledge, her heart pounding in her chest. The eagle was nowhere to be seen, but she knew it could return at any moment. She had to act fast. Mama Whiskers crept closer to the nest, her eyes scanning the area for any sign of danger. The nest was made of sticks and twigs, and inside, she could see the eagle's eggs. But there was no sign of her kittens. Her heart sank. Had the eagle taken them somewhere else? Or had they been lost during the journey? Mama Whiskers felt a wave of despair wash over her, but she quickly pushed it aside. She couldn't give up now. She had to keep searching. The final confrontation. Just as Mama Whiskers was about to leave the nest, she heard a loud screech behind her. She turned around and saw the eagle swooping down towards her, its talons outstretched. Mama Whiskers braced herself for the attack, her claws ready to defend herself. The eagle lunged at her, but Mama Whiskers was quick. She dodged to the side and swiped at the eagle's leg, causing it to screech in pain. The eagle retaliated, its sharp beak snapping at her. Mama Whiskers fought back with all her might, her claws slashing at the eagle's wings and body. The battle was fierce, and both Mama Whiskers and the eagle were injured. But Mama Whiskers was determined to protect her kittens, and she fought with a ferocity she didn't know she had. With one final, powerful swipe, she managed to knock the eagle off balance, sending it tumbling down the mountain. Mama Whiskers stood victorious, but she was badly injured. Her fur was matted with blood, and her body ached from the fight. But she had no time to rest. She had to find her kittens. The reunion. Mama Whiskers searched the nest thoroughly, but there was still no sign of her kittens. She was about to give up hope when she heard a faint meowing coming from a nearby crevice. Her heart leapt with joy as she rushed over to investigate. There, hidden in the crevice, were her four kittens, scared but unharmed. They had been hidden away by the eagle, who had planned to use them as food for its young. Mama Whiskers gently picked up each kitten and carried them to safety, her heart swelling with relief and love. The journey back to the barn was long and difficult, but Mama Whiskers was determined to get her kittens home safely. She carried them one by one, making sure they were warm and protected. Along the way, she encountered more dangers, but she faced them all with courage and determination. Finally, after days of traveling, Mama Whiskers and her kittens made it back to the barn. The villagers were overjoyed to see them, and they quickly gathered around to help. Mama Whiskers was given food and water, and her wounds were tended to. Her kittens were safe and sound, and they snuggled up to her, purring contentedly. A new beginning. Mama Whiskers and her kittens settled back into their life in the barn, but things were different now. The villagers had heard of her incredible journey and bravery, and they treated her with newfound respect and admiration. Mama Whiskers had become a hero, not just to her kittens, but to the entire village. As the days passed, Mama Whiskers watched her kittens grow and thrive. They were strong and healthy, and they had inherited their mother's courage and determination. Mama Whiskers knew that they would grow up to be brave and fearless, just like her. But Mama Whiskers also knew that their journey was far from over. The world was full of dangers, and she would always be there to protect and guide them. Together, they would face whatever challenges came their way, and they would always have each other. And so, Mama Whiskers and her kittens lived happily ever after, their bond stronger than ever. They had faced the ultimate test of courage and love, and they had come out victorious. Their story would be told for generations to come, a tale of bravery, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her kittens. Epilogue: The legend of Mama Whiskers. Years later, the story of Mama Whiskers and her incredible journey became a legend in the village of Willowbrook. The villagers would tell the tale to their children, who would listen with wide eyes and bated breath. Mama Whiskers had become a symbol of courage and love, a reminder that no matter how difficult the journey, there was always hope. And as for Mama Whiskers, she lived a long and happy life, surrounded by her kittens and the love of the villagers. She had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged victorious, and her legacy would live on forever.